All right. Perfect. Hello, hello. Dr. Nathan Sikora, and welcome to another evening of the Essential Workshop Series. The Essential Workshop Series was developed because we value education. We value workshops and teaching to our patients, and not just our patients, but our whole community. We are a chiropractic-centered wellness facility. As the owner of this facility for almost 20 years at this point, we see such value in making sure that our patients and our clients do not end up in the same positions that got them here in the first place. We hope that these workshops will save you time, money, and energy in the long run, help you become less dependent upon any other doctor, and ultimately become more free to make the wisest health decisions you need to. The patients in my years of experience that have the best outcomes seem to be the patients who have made a choice to educate themselves, feel confident about their decisions, but also listen to good advice and make changes where necessary, stay open-minded with their routines and their health practices. So when we start off every month, we're always going to start off by helping everyone to realize the importance of chiropractic, their body's health and healing ability, and how the main stressors to our bodies affect our overall wellness and well-being and ultimately cause subluxation, which is what we treat as a chiropractor. Chiropractic means by hand. Chiropractors or doctors mean teachers. We want to help you learn from your body. Your body is always telling a story. The story it tells me every time you're on the table helps me to analyze and assess what things may be going on internally as well as externally. But your body is always reacting and having to handle stressors that are being placed on them. Subluxation, a misalignment of those vertebrae. Let's grab my spine here real quick. The reason that you are all being treated in my facility is because we found and identified that there were segments of your spine that are restricted. They're stuck. They're not moving well. And when that happens, it affects the overall function of your body's health and healing ability. The innate ability for your body to heal and function well is innately built into this blueprint of proper spinal alignment. Proper curves of your spine and proper alignment lead to healthier bodies. When your body is misaligned and restricted in function, it ultimately causes a pressure on the nerves. The nerves are very sensitive. It only takes about the weight of a dime to shut off up to 60% of the life force or nerve flow from your brain down to these nerves and out to other parts of your body. These nerves may go to your stomach. They may go to the muscles in your back. They may go to your intestines. They may go to your sinuses. But when your body's out of alignment, it decreases the ability for your body to send signals efficiently and effectively so that your body is now altered in its state. If I had a dimmer switch and you had a subluxation, you might not have that 100 watts of energy. You might have 60 or 70. Subluxations affect the overall quality of one's life. And when they're present, alter the innate ability for your body to heal itself to some degree or another. Pain is sometimes the last symptom that we get when we have subluxation. The first might be things that are very non-descriptive or unattuned to. Many children have subluxations, and they get those usually from physical traumas, typically. So one of the areas that cause subluxation, to what we should all be aware of, are that physical trauma. It could be poor posture, which is a micro trauma, which we see more and more kids today on cell phones and tablets causing micro trauma to their spine and posture, as well as adults. But also it could have a little slip or a fall. By the time a child's 4 years old, probably about 4,000 falls. So we've all been jostled around a little bit. Even if we didn't cry or hurt, our body was put out of alignment. That misalignment, if not corrected or released, can start to build into a subluxation that starts to cause dysfunction and disease later on in life. So this is why it's important to check children It's much easier to correct children. As an adult, most subluxations that we find are compensatory to all the other stressors that have gone on in our lives. Everything that's ever happened to our spines leaves an imprint on them. So physical traumas as a kid, slipping off of a bike, falling down the stairs, just learning to walk, even birth itself can be very traumatic to the baby's neck. But we extend that forward into adulthood. We might be in car accidents. We might have sports injuries. We may sit at a desk job. We may be unattuned to our posture and our strength. All these cause subluxation. When your body can't handle a stressor, it misaligns. It restricts itself in order to protect. We want to release that restriction because if we don't, then the body starts to create a process of what we call a vertebral subluxation complex, which means that there's stress and strain on muscles and ligaments and joints, tendons, bones, discs can wear out. Ultimately, the nerves are affected. Our highest function means a high functioning nervous system. There are things that stress our nervous system, for example, cause subluxation, that we're going to talk about. Number one is traumas. Physical stress to our spine absolutely can irritate our bones and put them out of alignment, causing nerve stress. But so can two other things. And they both begin with a T. So in chiropractic, philosophically, we talk about the 3 T's. Trauma is one of them. Would anyone be able to guess any of the other two? That cause stress to our bodies, that cause dysfunction to our health. You can type in, you can just unmute your mic if you want. I'm giving time to navigate your phone if you want. I'm glad we don't have any answers just yet because there's a lot of newer people on the line. Number one's trauma. Number two is toxins. And number three, hey, look, I get balloons. I don't know why. That's great. Number three is thoughts. So in our clinic, we build a foundation of essential workshops to start to unravel and look at our lives in 3 main categories and or 6 essentials in which we may be performing properly or also may be stressful to our environment. So number one, traumas. Number two, toxins. Toxins, they're in our water, food, and air. I mean, we are exposed to probably over 32,000 a week. Our bodies were built to detoxify. Our bodies will sweat. We'll eliminate through our kidneys. Our liver is a huge detoxification organ. Every cell performs some detoxification. When overwhelmed with toxins, our bodies become sick, and they cause subluxation. Number three is our thoughts. Our thoughts are things. What we think about and think about, we bring about. When we are in a position in which our thoughts are positive, creative, giving, loving, supportive, our body is in a place in which our energies and our vibrations are healing. When we're in a place of anger, fear, worry, stress, selfishness, our bodies become attuned to more tension and stress on our nervous system and on our spine. I can tell you very simply how someone's day at work probably went just by feeling their shoulders, usually in my office, especially if I've known them for a while and I know the differences. The 3 things that cause us to become sick and cause subluxations, we can dig into and say, well, what are some of the habits that we'd want to create or some of the things that we do on a daily basis that would start to help our bodies follow the laws of healing and health? We utilize this book. We go through this. It's called Rays of the Dawn. I have 4 more copies still here in the office, and I will order more if we want them. But this Rays of the Dawn book is not something you probably want to buy on Amazon. I heard it's like $50. It's like $15 in our office. I get it from the company. I think it's kind of hard to find for some reason, but it's a health handbook that was written by a chiropractor that opened a clinic back in San Antonio, Texas, way back. He went through World War I, many stories, but lots about healing and health. And we use this as our foundation because there are 4 laws of our body that we need to follow. The 4 laws go like this. Number 1 is movement. And we're going to touch on that probably in a month or 2. But movement is key. You come in to be moved. We need you to move. Movement is life. There's a law of movement. We'll talk about when to move, how much to move. When do we stop? We'll talk about that as we get into our movement workshops. The second is nourishment. I can't tell you how many people come into my office subluxated and inflamed that decide that they're going to start changing what they're putting in their bodies. And if they're stopping dead and devitalized foods, heavy sugar and carbohydrates and processed foods, and they eliminate those and start to add healthy, real live foods, they adjust so much better because they're eliminating and cleansing their body of toxins. So our nourishment is huge. The law of nourishment. Law of movement, the law of nourishment. There's two other laws to be aware of in your body. One of those is rest and recuperation. So those are together, rest and recuperation. We need to rest. We need to sleep. And we also need to recreate and have fun. Can't do the same task all the time. The mind will become a parasite on the body. The last law is the law of sanitation. We need clean environments. We need a clean body. We are covered in clothing, and it's tough for our body to detoxify. So we need to stay sanitized on the exterior and the interior of our bodies. Those are the four laws of health and healing in the body. There are two laws of the mind and soul. Our minds and souls play a huge role in our health and vitality. And in this book, we'll go over those. Actually, 2/3 of this book is built toward talking about the laws of the mind and the soul. And only 1/3 is talking about the laws of the body. So if that puts any importance over time that people have understood about where healing really comes from, that it starts in our mind, okay? That's why the 4th Tuesday of every month, we're always going to talk about some law of the mind and a law of the soul. Usually two polar opposites, faith and fear. We did that in the beginning of the year. Tonight, we want to talk about nourishment. You know, what we eat and what we drink is vital to our bodies. You cannot run and heal at the levels we need to without proper nutrients, without proper elimination. And number one, the thing to think about when we're talking about nutrition and what we put in our bodies is maybe very simply saying, let's not stress just yet about all the things we might be putting in that aren't good. Let's try to get more of the good first. Fruits and vegetables are considered eliminators and detoxifiers. There are more than a dozen papers and research articles that have proven people who eat more fruits and vegetables have a better life expectancy, less cancer, and less disease. Fruits and vegetables house so many things that are so vital to our nutritional status. Number one, vitamins and minerals are largely found in fruits and vegetables, largely found. So if we need vitamins and minerals in order for our bodies to function, to be calm, to cause, we call it enzymes to work, in order for you to go through the process of just being alive, you need vitamins and minerals. They're essential. The most concentration of those are found in fruits and vegetables. Number two is that fruits and vegetables tend to have lots of fiber. Lots of fiber. Fiber, indigestible fiber especially, or insoluble fiber. If you think of insoluble fiber, is best probably described as if you take a broccoli crown or a stalk and you cut the stalk off, that stalk is insoluble fiber. That whole puppy there, which is if you buy the cheap bag of frozen ones, you get mostly that in there. So if you go to the grocery store and buy frozen broccoli and you mostly get the stem, you probably paid for a lot of insoluble fiber. Mostly what that does is goes right through you. But the benefit to it, the huge benefit, is it feeds good bacteria in your body. Feeds the good bacteria in your body. It is a prebiotic. Prebiotic. Probiotic is a bacteria of some sort that is ingested. You will get those from some fruits and vegetables, but we live in a hyper clean environment at this point. The only way that we usually get those types of things in our bodies anymore is by supplementation, mostly, or fermented foods. But fruits and vegetables, high concentration of nutrients, high concentration of fiber. And number three, high concentration of water. Water. It's vital. 70% of our body is water. If I had one thing to prescribe everyone, it would be to make sure they drink at least 8 glasses of water a day, maybe 6 if you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, but at least 8 glasses of water a day. I don't think there's any perfect amount. When we prescribe a nutrition program, it's called the Shape Reclaim program in our office. It's a very well thought out, well put together, anti-inflammatory, immune supporting, detoxification, and typically excess weight is shaved off with that program. We do a urine analysis to check your hydration. So if you really want to know what your hydration was doing that program, you would get urine sticks to tell you exactly how you're doing. But how do you get more water in your diet? Fruits and vegetables. I love to juice. Now, juicing is so beneficial. If you're going to spend money on supplementation, the first thing I may suggest for people is, if you're really going to do that, is to probably spend it on a juicer, because you get nature's vitamins and minerals. You get nature's supplementation, and you can concentrate it. A lot of us are deficient. Why? There's a lot of reasons. We can be overwhelmed by stress and tension, and that robs us of nutrients. And number two, the growing practices or farming practices in our United States is poor anymore. We do not rotate crops. We do not change over soil. We don't take crops from here and do something different in that land. We just produce crops. Even if they're organic, they may not have the same amount of nutrients that they used to. At least they don't have the pesticides. But we overall don't have the same amount of nutrient density in our foods that we used to. So juicing is a great way to do that. If you have blood sugar issues, you have a hard time stabilizing your blood sugar. What's that mean? What's that look like? Well, if you get a little jittery, or you get stressed, or you have a hard time thinking, or lightheaded, and you haven't eaten for a little bit, that's probably because your blood sugar dropped too low. Or if you get real tired after having a big meal, you may go right to sleep. That means your blood sugar probably spiked too high and then went low again. So trying to keep our blood sugar in balance is one of the health conscious things to do. How do you do that? Well, fruits and vegetables are wonderful. I'd say start with vegetables. Those are huge because there's a lot less carbohydrates, period. Definitely sugars in vegetables. Fruits, yes, it has definitely have sugar. But if you're trying to manage that balance, start with your vegetables. But if you're juicing, just to be honest, you're probably going to want to use at least an apple as your base, because otherwise it's going to be a little rough at first to you to get used to the vegetable juices right away. But I'd use an apple as a base, but definitely throw some kale in there, some carrots, some celery, beets, ginger, all great things. When you concentrate in juice, you're getting enzymes in your diet, not just from eating vegetables and fruits, which enzymes are wonderful for that, but enzymes are concentrated in the juice. But you do have to use it fairly quickly, or you might need to freeze it, and you'll probably lose some of the nutrients if you wait too long to use the juice or freeze it. But right away, a fresh pressed juice is probably nature's best energy boost you could possibly find. And there are more and more what do you call recipes out there, but I might suggest juicing a couple times a week if you're trying to get into some more fruits and vegetables in your diet. And just pay attention how you feel. I want to touch on enzymes for a moment. The more fruits and vegetables that you eat, the more enzymes that you're putting into your body. Enzymes, number one, will digest food for you. Your pancreas releases enzymes to help you digest your food. But when you have enzymes in a large quantity in your body, they are absolutely absorbed into your body, and they help to eat up or detoxify inflammation and damaged tissue. If you have an injury, one of the best things you can do is take a lot of enzymes on an empty stomach to start to get rid of excess chronic inflammation and to start to repair tissue. Enzymes are wonderful for that, found in fruits and vegetables again. I want to talk a little bit about just, if we're looking at a plate. Now, one thing you can look into is called macros. You could try to think, hey, what's my best macro ratio? You could Google that. Typically what that means is you're eating some percentage of fats, some percentage of protein, some percentage of carbohydrates. And if you start to look at your diet, and you could put it into a program to really find out what your percentages are. But ultimately, our macros, we need fats, we need carbohydrates, and we do need proteins. Your body can produce glucose ultimately in your blood from fats and protein. So the necessary to have complex carbs is less necessary. because those do tend to cause us the most distress. We call those, and we'll talk about those in another workshop this month, we call them congestors. Grain, pastas, rice, wheat, most of those things can be congestors. So when you're looking at a meal, a plate, I would say half of that plate should be starting off with lots of vegetables. If you have a hard time digesting vegetables, especially raw right away, you might want to steam them. You're not going to lose all the nutrients there. Steaming them is great. It's at least a good start. You might need to help your body digest. That's the nice thing about juicing. It's kind of pre-digested a little bit. But when you're eating a little extra of that fiber, your body may have a little bit of a hard time with fiber. And so steaming it may help you. But I would still try to make half of your plate vegetables. A salad would be wonderful. You can add anything you want in those vegetables, but pretty much the only vegetable we're not going to let you consider a vegetable in that half of the plate is like potatoes. Okay, those are on the congester side. All right, those are our complex carbs. But any other vegetables you can really think of are there. The book has it all listed out really well if you wanted to get the book. But at this point, the green leafy stuff is wonderful. All the kinds of colors and sizes and shapes is wonderful. The biggest thing that we're trying to keep people away from right now are the congestors, which are usually the heavier carbohydrates. So number one, let's make sure that you are eating the fresh fruits and vegetables other than bananas. The only thing I want to say is bananas and potatoes right now. I would like to say no, but everything else, go for it. Why bananas? They're pretty heavy in sugar. But I want you to focus on having that plate of vegetables. And then a third of that, then a fourth of that plate should be your protein. Usually about 4 ounces is at least for most people need some sort of a protein source. And usually the best source is some sort of an animal source. If it's grass-fed or fresh caught, all the better. Right now, eating just in the right proportions will make you feel so much better. At this point, too, it's okay to have some more complex carbohydrates if you're still hungry. And I would say that could be another fourth of the plate. If you're like, I'm pretty good, and I had my vegetables and I had my protein, I say that's wonderful. Maybe you should finish off the meal with a little bit of fruit. That will give you some extra carbs and sugar, and it will also give you nutrients. And if you feel satisfied, wonderful. Where does fat come into these? Usually the lubricators, we call them, which are fats. Those can be added if you're hungry, if you do need a little bit extra weight on you, or you do feel like you're not satisfied, again, like I said. So adding a little bit of fat to your vegetables, so, dressing, obviously, can help you to stay more satisfied. So start with your eliminators, we call them, or your vegetables. Add some protein, finish off with fruit, maybe add a little fat if you need to. And if still feel like you need more energy throughout the day, you can always add some of those congestors or those grains. That's what we like to see as a good start of an anti-inflammatory, nutrient-packed, light eating program. Our bodies crave, they crave nutrients. So if you are craving, and there are 2 reasons people crave foods. We'll go into this. Number one, they're lacking certain nutrients. Chocolate, for example, has a lot of magnesium. A lot of times people crave chocolate for the magnesium. Probably not only that, it's probably the sugar in the chocolate. So the other craving is because it feeds bad bacteria or gives us a dopamine rush of some sort. Most food that's processed and packaged has been made to be addictive. The addictive centers of our brain are wired to have the next dopamine rush. And so salt, fat, sugar all tend to give us a little bit of that dopamine rush. Potato chips, dip those in chocolate and you'd be set. You've got the whole thing right there. So you've got the body will crave things because if it's depressed or down or not feeling really well, it needs a boost. It remembered that this sugar or this whatever caused some dopamine, so I need more dopamine. So one thing that gets addicted to foods is things that cause a dopamine rush. The other reason, though, is nutrient deficiencies. So know that when you're craving things, you may not have the right amount of nutrients in your diet. Add those vegetables in first, not necessarily the food you're craving, because likely the food you're craving may have some of that, but it probably has a lot of empty calories, typically, because the reasons we crave are, again, twofold. So know that if you're still hungry and you're not satisfied with a meal, there's certain ratios, and that's what those macros are, that will help you to maybe tweak them. So you might want to start looking at, what percentage of my meal is carbohydrates, what percentage of my meal is protein, and you have to get the numbers and really get like an app. The app that most people can use for free is called MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is on your phone. You can start saying, I ate 8 ounces of turkey. I had, a cup of rice, whatever. And you'd be surprised what your ratios are. On like a lower carb keto diet, you might be looking at ratios of like a 40-40-20, meaning like 40% carbs, 40% protein, and 20% fat. Some people go and switch that all the way to the 20% carb. That's kind of tough. A lot of people are getting at least 50% usually of carbs. But if you are trying to do more keto or lean up, you can drop those down if you want to, but you'll probably increase your proteins or fats a little bit in that sense. But start looking at those ratios and know what you are, because that might help you to say, well, if I'm not that satisfied with this meal, maybe if I change those proportions a little bit, a little more protein, usually a little more protein, a little more fat, a little less carb, might make you more satisfied. Vegetables, you can have, almost don't even count the vegetables. At this point, you can put them in there, but it's more important you get as many vegetables as you want. You fill up as much as you want on those foods. Why? Number one, if you're on any kind of a calorie restriction or you're getting too many calories, vegetables have the lowest count of calories of anything. Very low. It would take a lot to get 100 calories of spinach. It'd take a lot of spinach to eat, trust me. So know that vegetables also have a lower calorie count, which means that if energy expenditure, you're trying to burn some fat, one of the best things you do is just eat more vegetables. So just to sum up, number one, our bodies become diseased and destroyed by habits and activities that we have. It may be the poor posture we hold. It may be the activities we do. It may be the thoughts we think. It may be the foods we put in our bodies. We have choices. There are laws that govern our bodies. If we follow the laws, we have optimal health. One of those laws is the laws of how we nourish our bodies. We don't nourish them in the middle of the store, typically the grocery store. We nourish them on the outsides of the grocery store. How we nourish them is going to be very important. Today, we talked about those eliminators, which are also fruits and vegetables. Those are your power-packed, nutrient-dense eliminators, detoxifiers. If you're having constipation issues, eat fruits and vegetables. Our bodies will help in eliminating toxins with those. Know that it's probably a gradual change that most people have to make to their diets. If you want a form or something to follow, we have something called the Shape Reclaim program. It's a wonderful program that you can look into. And it has some homeopathic drops that support cravings and detoxifying from all the food that we do have addictions to. The last thing is to challenge you. At the beginning of the month, we always want to make sure that we start off with some foundations. But what it comes down to ultimately is you're here because there's something was wrong. We ultimately are here to better ourselves. There might be some little part today that you heard about, either drinking more water, increasing your vegetables. Maybe it wasn't even having anything to do with that. Maybe it was something else I touched on with our thoughts. But I want you to start to make some attuned actions and trying to make a change with this for the next month if something resonates with you. If it doesn't, we have 3 other workshops this month for you to find one thing to start to make one change for the next month. One change on top of another change starts to compound interest for your health. If you make the change to eat more vegetables this month and the next month you're moving more, that 1 + 1 = 3. Your body is going to start to heal in ways you can't believe. Your bodies are powerful beyond belief. And we in this office believe that you have the potential to heal, and we want to give you the foundations to do that.